Welcome back to the shop, everyone. This is another 2-in-1 video. So we've got week 36, September 5th to September 11th, and week 37, September 12th to September 18th. Again, both these weeks weren't really long enough on their own for their own video, so I combined the two to get something a little bit longer. And we're starting off on the interior of the car. What I've got there is a plum bob, and I am attaching it to the top bar, letting it hang down to the bottom and just making a mark. And I will do that in two places, one on more the left side, one towards the right. So now that I've got the plum bob's measurements all figured out, I'm going to do a little bit of CAD here, or that's otherwise known as cardboard assisted design. Not to be confused with computer assisted design. I am far too low tech for that in this case. So what I'm going to do is, with the measurements I took in the car, I took measurements from the floor to the dash bar, and then I also took measurements between my two plum bob marks. So I have a width and I have two separate heights. In the back of the car, where the floor pan is at that point, it kind of angles down from the right side where the trans tunnel is, down lower on the left side by the outside door area. So you can see that the mark I just made there on the cardboard isn't perfectly straight on the bottom, and that's to follow the curvature of the bottom of the floor pan. Now that I have that initial cutout, I'm just going to put it back in the car and take a look and see if I like the size, if I like the spacing, see if it, matches my vision. Obviously, this is a terrible camera angle because you're seeing a lot of my back and my head. So I've said this before, but I've really been doing this recently. Is I'm trying to be very conscientious of where I have the camera in regards to the work that I'm doing. I want to make sure that I'm not blocking the view, but I'm also capturing the work itself. So sorry about that, but it's already filmed, can't refilm it, and we'll have to live with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer my cardboard cutout to a sheet of, I believe that's 1/4 inch aluminum, and I'm then going to cut it out. The reason why I'm going with aluminum is that it's lighter than steel, and although weight isn't really a concern for me on this build, it doesn't hurt to use a little bit of a lighter material.
Let's go!
that that piece is cut out, I'm just going to take it over to the bench grinder, and I'm just going to clean up the edges a little bit. And let's get a first look at how this is going to sit in the car. I actually really like this. So the reason why I'm doing this plate is for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I'm going to have carpet in the car, and with the plate that the Dominator and the fuse box is sitting on now, I really thought to myself, how am I going to either get carpet under this or over it? And then how am I going to mount the plate into the car itself? Am I going to have like risers coming off of it? And I didn't really like the look of it. So I was actually watching another YouTuber, Race Status, might be Race Status Garage, and he was redoing some of his electrical, and I saw that he had his plate set up here in, in the method that I'm going to. So it's kind of between the dash bar and the floor plate behind the passenger seat. I looked at that and I really liked it. I really liked the serviceability of it. I liked the cleanliness of it. So kind of stole his idea. This wasn't my idea, and I'm running with it. Race Status has done a ton of foxbody stuff, and I've picked up some tips from him. I've watched his videos just to see, like, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? And so this is one idea that I really enjoyed. So that's why I'm going with this. Also, it means that I can just pull this plate out if I want to service anything. Yeah, that's kind of the reasoning behind switching this. And when you're building a car, you're gonna do something, find out you don't like it, and then have to change it. I'd rather change something I'm not sure about or not liking and spend a little bit more time and effort in doing it another way than just going with it my original way because it's already done. I want to do it to the best of my abilities and have an end product that I'm happy with. Now I've got the old plate out of the car, I got the Dominator and the fuse box off of it. I'm just planning out how to mount this stuff on this panel. The fuse box is going to have a ton of wiring coming out of it. Dominator is going to have a ton of wiring coming out of it. So how do I want this stuff set up that still makes it easy for me to wire? So since this fuse box can have wires coming on three sides of it, I need to make sure that I have enough room on this plate to get wires all the way around it. Like right here, I like having the Dominator at the bottom, but when I have this in the car, my fuse panel, I couldn't run wires to it. By putting the fuse panel, more to the side here, I can run wires up the middle of the plate, running to both the Dominator and to the fuse box, and it'll look clean and it'll look nice. Yeah, I've decided that's where, my ECU is going. So I took a little tool, I marked out where the holes are going to be, and I'm just using my Sharpie just to make it a little bit more obvious. So what I did there is I just marked the center point between the two mounting holes, and the reason why I did that is so that I can get the fuse box also mounted right in the center, so that way the height difference doesn't really matter They'll both be mounted with the center of the device on the exact same line. Center punching all the holes before I drill it out. The center punch helps stop the drill bit from drifting around. Just gonna take the plate over to the drill press. I find that, you know, I get better, more consistent holes on the drill press than doing it by hand. But not everything works out the way you want it to, and I wasn't able to get to some of the center holes with the drill press, so I had to drill them out by hand. Now that I have the holes drilled out, I can start remounting my devices onto that plate. first look of this new plate in the car. I really like how this came out. The spacing between the floor pan and the dash is perfect. Nothing that I'm not liking about this right now. The next thing that I need to do is I need to fabricate some mounting tabs. So I'm not just going to weld that plate to the car. What first? It's aluminum, the car is steel. Welding to similar metals doesn't really work all that well. And secondly, I want to be able to remove this plate from the car if I need to change wiring, if I need to change components, you know, for whatever reason. I want to make it removable. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a hole saw and just with the cardboard, I'm taking one of the holes, cutting it in half, and seeing if there's enough space to get the tab mounted on the plate, and then have, you know, about an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/4 of an inch space on the bottom. And I found the hole saw that works. So now I'm going to cut out on 1/8 inch plate steel some holes, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each of those holes that I cut in half, and from there, when I cut it in half, I'm going to drill a hole kind of in the middle of it. I'm going to thread that hole, and then I drill a hole in the plate, and then I can put a screw through the plate into this tab and weld this tab into the car. So that's how the mounting is going to go. So I've abused some of these hole saws and they don't cut for shit anymore. So I actually went out and I bought a new hole saw kit just so that I could do these. The new hole saw didn't really cut a whole lot better than the old one, and maybe that's because it's just, you know, a cheap Canadian Tire brand one, but I wasn't overly impressed. It got the job done, you know, at the end of the day, but it did take quite a bit and made a lot of noise, even though I was using cutting oil. But what can you do? I guess you can buy higher quality tools. You know, these are bimetal bits, so they're designed to be used on plastic or wood or metal. You know, maybe they just don't want it, or maybe they're not good enough to do 1/8 inch steel. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I got through all the metal. It wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Let's go.
So here's where I'm cutting those holes in half. So 2 circles make 4 mounting tabs. Just doing a little bit of math to figure out where I'm going to put these tabs. I want them equally spaced out on the top of this plate, so that's what I'm doing here. And with them just taped on there for now, let's kind of throw this in the car and see what we see.
Let's go.
So here I am starting to center punch and then drill and tap holes in those tabs so that as I mentioned earlier, the plate, the bolt will go through the plate into these tabs, and that's how it's going to be fastened into the car.
Turn up. Let's go.
Well, everyone, if you've stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.